संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। पवित्रं चरितं यस्याः पवित्रं जीवनं तथा पवित्रतास्वरूपिण्यै तस्यै कुर्मो नमो नमः। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ओम सर्वमंगलमांगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। We are into the last chapter, freedom. Seventh in the series, but the last according to our discussions. Today supposed to be a satsanga at Venkatapura near Pavagada from Bangalore Mutt, but due to the passing away of revered Swami Prabhanji Maharaj yesterday evening around 6:50. So they have cancelled the satsanga in Venkatapura and they will conduct the same satsanga next Sunday, 9th. So interested they can register their names in the office. Before I begin, I remember one or two incidents of Maharaj and then I will continue with Karma Yoga. Actually Maharaj, our revered Suitanji Maharaj, revered Prabhanji Maharaj, they are all from Bangladesh, present Bangladesh, earlier undivided Bengal. After independence, etc., after Curzon, so many things happened. And then it was East Bengal and then East Pakistan, then it became Bangladesh. So basically Maharaj is from Bangladesh, but joined at Narendrapur, had his mantra diksha from Swami Shankaranji Maharaj. You know, Shankaranji Maharaj was the secretary to Brahmanji Maharaj. And then I think 1966 he had his sannyasa from revered Swami Veereshwaranji Maharaj. Then he was the general secretary from 2007 to 2012, I think, more or less between that period. So we happened to meet him in 2010 when I had my sannyasa. Generally, newly ordained brahmacharis after 5 years of their training, Swamis after 10 years of their training. After 10 years, we will have sannyasa here. After 5 years, brahmacharya diksha. Newly ordained brahmacharis and newly ordained monks, sannyasins, will have classes from all senior monks. Senior monks means President Maharaj, Vice President Maharaj and the General Secretaries. So each will give their own timings. Morning it's not possible because we have to go for Bhiksha and other bhajans, etc. will be there in the morning. Only in the late evening or after Aratrikam or even sometimes in the night after dinner. We will have, means not a class in the sense of teaching some subject. They will share their experience or they will share their expectations of us. So what you are expected to do in this order after so many years, you have been here for 10 years, etc. So in the evening we all went to meet revered Prabhanji Maharaj. Actually he is the Swami who brought out that museum. When we were in training center in 2006, that museum was still under construction. It was all due to the efforts of revered Prabhanji Maharaj. He was at the time the secretary of the Institute of Culture. He used to come weekly once or according to the work and then supervise the museum work and then go. Because of his efforts, that museum came. And even many research, he has published lot of more about Sri Ramakrishna Antilila. There are many books written by him. These are all additions to Leela Prasanga. You will get very new incidences in more about Sri Ramakrishna, which is not published either in Leela Prasanga or in Yugavatara or in any of the English books. So whatever additions which were got after research by Maharaj, and many articles he has published in journals and participated in seminars. He did lot of research regarding Thakur Swamiji and then on Ramakrishna movement. The history of the Ramakrishna movement, it's all his efforts. If you are a good reader, then you will understand his value towards research. So, he took the initiative to start that Ramakrishna Museum at Belur. Now it's a well constructed place, you can visit it. Earlier it was in front of the temple in a small building. Later they shifted everything after that construction of that big building. So, we used to see him often during our Pangat, means during food. So later when we left training center 2007, Maharaj became the general secretary. He came back from Institute of Culture and stayed at Belur Math. So when we went for sannyasa in 2010, after sannyasa, of course he had one class. He narrated his own incident. One example he gave. Then when he morning by 3:30, 4 o'clock, 2:30, 2:40, the sannyasa procedures will start, 2:30 a.m. By the time you complete the procedures in the temple, it will be around 5:15. And Maharaj came out of the temple before last part is Nama, naming ceremony. Means we would have completed all Virja, Homa, etc. and then come to President Markotas. There President Maharaj will give mantra, means Nama, and then he will give Bhiksha. We would have done 24 hours Nirjala Upasa. Then to break that Upasa, President Maharaj will give first name, and then after that first he will give Bhiksha. He will offer a glass of juice and little bit of fruits to break the fast. We break the fast there, then we will go for Bhiksha for afterwards. So when he came, he saw so many cars standing in queue near the temple. He had that in his mind. So when we came for the class, he said, today morning I saw so many cars, Swami is coming in a car, but what were our condition when he joined the order? When he was a brahmachari, I think in a training center, 1959 training center started, not before that. When he was in Belur as a brahmachari, maybe, most probably, he was a brahmachari, of course I know, but whether he was in Belur and he had come from other place, I don't know. But he narrated this incident. So he had fallen sick. He had some problem, malaria, something like that. He had fallen sick. So doctor advised him to take a glass of milk every day. But we didn't have milk to provide for brahmacharis and swamis. It will be provided only on exceptional cases. Daily we didn't have a cup of glass to be offered to any sick man. So but his health was not recouping. Then from next day, after food, he used to get a glass of milk every day. Maybe it went on for 5-6 days. On the 7th day, the Bhandari, means the in charge of the kitchen, Swami, came and told, I think you are all right. It's not necessary for us to feed you with milk. Then Prabhanji Maharaj told, yes, okay, I am all right now. Better. Because I think that time revered Swami Madhvanji Maharaj was the general secretary. So, because he was a senior Swami, one cup of milk was offered to revered Madhvanji Maharaj. When he came to know that Prabhanji as a brahmachari was not well, he has forsaken his milk and told, you first give it to a brahmachari. He is the future of our order. It's not necessary for me to give. Either he was the president or the general secretary. Then Madhvanji's milk was given to Prabhanji as a brahmachari. Then that's why he told, from tomorrow we won't give you because we have to give it to Maharaj. He is the senior most disciple of Holy Mother. Madhvanji Maharaj was a disciple of Holy Mother. So they didn't have, then he told, we didn't have milk to drink. If you have fallen sick, we didn't have proper food. And nowadays we could see the car, forget about the food. So where are we heading towards in Ramakrishna mission? So be careful about luxury because devotees will offer many things, but you should be austere. And then he added, we started the hospital centers, like mainly in Varanasi, Home of Service, Ramakrishna Home of Service, and then the Kankal by Kalyananji Maharaj. So there, Maharaj told, when we were brahmacharis, it was mandatory for the brahmacharis and the monks to clean the ward, to clean the bathroom, clean the toilets. It was the duty, not the duty. I should not use the word duty. It was a service You should take care of the patient. Only doctor will take care of the patient regarding the medicine. All manual labor should work being done. But nowadays, because we are growing in numbers, we are appointing workers. They are doing, and monks are supervising. They are becoming executives now. You don't do service. He is scolded in a way. You are not all serving now in hospitals. You are only taking care of the administration. It's a fact in one term. When I went to Kangal, stayed last year during COVID 1 month, they used to reminisce that when they joined the Swami, senior Swamis who were staying there, still now at Kankal, they used to reminisce saying that when we joined Brahmachari, we used to clean the ward with phenyl, etc. No ayas were there. We had no money to appoint ayas. Now we have money. So, Prabhanji Maharaj told this. One is about the incident of milk, and second thing about the service to be done those who are staying at hospital centers. Otherwise, you don't feel that you are doing something from within. Administration is always a problematic position. However you maneuver, somewhere it will come and strike you. That's why in between you have this attitude and develop the attitude of austerity in your life. Devotees may give hundreds of things, but you should be austere. They give love out of their love. They have their own philosophy, but they don't have the actual idea of spirituality. Many, I can say. I cannot say all, many. So out of their love, they Swami, you take this, Swami, you take. We cannot take everybody that's offered, because we have our own principles regarding austerity. We should be diligent and have that buddhi of discrimination to take what they may offer. We'll accept, apparently. But what is not required should not be taken. And there are so many rules regarding that. Of course, when organization is there, it has got its own plus and minus. So, Maharaj, I remember Prabhanji Maharaj in 2010, when I heard yesterday about his, when he got that message, email. Then I remembered these two incidents. So, just because today the satsanga was also cancelled due to Maharaj passing away, I asked whether the lecture in the evening will be there or not. They said, Bangalore told, yes, you please come. Then I thought I will share these two incidents and then continue with the chapter on Karma Yoga, that is the last chapter, freedom. The concluded chapter was, non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. We will recoup and then proceed with the present one. I have to give an introduction to this chapter also, freedom, because first few pages, it is completely based on Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, to be more precise. Swamiji completely deals with Advaita Vedanta. I will not go into details of Advaita Vedanta, but just a brief, maybe maximum 5-6 minutes, I will just brief you, an outline. Because Swamiji uses one or two technical terms here in the very first paragraph. To know that, you should understand a bit of introduction. Why Swamiji? What does Swamiji mean by freedom? That we have to understand. Before that, in non-attachment is complete self-abnegation, Swamiji started with taking up actions, evil or good, good or evil or good or bad actions. No power on the earth can stop the results of actions. He began with that idea. So, to continue, the problem with the good and bad actions is they are both are intimately connected. Means what did Swamiji explain? A good action has an element of badness, a bad action has got an element of goodness. So we are caught in the web of good and bad actions. So hence we should, before doing Karma Yoga, we should understand the secret of work. That's what Swamiji meant. Then, very important point that Swamiji quoted was, by mere work, or mere, he used only work, I am adding a mere adjective. By mere work, one cannot attain perfection in this world. By mere work, nobody, not one, nobody can attain perfection in this world. That's first thing. Second thing, Swamiji's question there was, after this explanation, Swamiji said, what is the end of this karma? You are performing, you have to work incessantly. That was Krishna's message that Swamiji quoted. We have to, in this world, we have to work incessantly. So when you are working incessantly, what is the end point of working incessantly? There, when he says of the end point is complete self-obligation. Until unless this ego is subsided, it is completely eliminated. There is no question of non-attachment or unattached work. It's never possible. So, to the corollary to it, we can deduce, what can be deduced? Only a Jivan Mukta can be a true Karma Yogi. I am going step by step. I did not mention this when I started that because, oh Swamiji, then it is not possible to be so, but we have to proceed from where we are, no other way. We cannot escape. So, in a truer sense, only a Jivan Mukta or a Gnani can perform true unattached work. Apart in all levels, he is in a higher level. He is an evolved person, evolved Swami, evolved etc. But he cannot perform unattached work until unless, because he has to find the true I-ness. Otherwise, it's not possible to perform. These are all the way. And that's why Swamiji says, when you are serving the society, serving the people, serving the in various levels of your sadhana, think that you are only the carrier. Suppose you are distributing some medicine, you are giving a lecture or something, etc. The person who gets things from you is destined to get whatever he is destined to get, because his karma phala will get him that item or the things that he is going to get. You are only a carrier, purohita, like Agni. Don't be proud that you are doing so many things. Even not be proud for anything that you do in this world. Because you are only a carrier, a purohita, who performs on behalf of somebody. So, with this attitude, you start your karma yoga. Only then it will lead to self-obligation. Otherwise, it's not at all possible. So, he concluded he has explained all these things. We are also discussed as much as possible according to the convenience of our time. And finally, Swamiji concluded with the story of Shuka. Why he gave that example of Shuka? Because when we are in the society, always we are acted upon by the world on our minds. No way to escape. Either in a family or in a society or in a country, many people run away to many developed countries because many are fed up with the Indian society problems in our society. Compared to external things, they have got comparatively a lot more freedom with respect to society compared to India and our family patriarchal, matriarchal society. So, here, that's why he gave the example of Shuka. He went round the hall with music and so many things without spilling a drop of milk or oil, whatever this 3 times, 7 times, how many times you can add. Came back and gave it to Janaka and said, whatever you are learned from your father, that you have come to the place of knowledge, come to the area of knowledge. You are already knowledgeable. Shuka, there is nothing more for me to teach you. You can go back. And Shuka came back to his father Vyasa. Then Swamiji says, as long as you are not controlled, self-controlled, until unless you have Indriya Nigraha, you are always slave. Because you are slave to your mind, slave to your body, slave to your senses. Hence, until unless you come to the level of self-restraint, Indriya Nigraha, you cannot avoid the problems of the world. You will be acted upon by the world. So, Indriya Nigraha is the primary important aspect for any sadhaka. For Karma Yogi, it is a must. For a Gnani, he may do Shravanamana Nididhyasana, but he cannot go beyond that. To go beyond that, he has to all have the discrimination, mumukshatva, etc. There they quote. In the same way here, if you want to be a karma yogi, it's necessary for a bhakta also. But Swamiji, he very much gives importance regarding this Indra Nigraha, taking the example of Shuka. So that's why when you begin karma yoga, first what is the important, Swamiji says, concluding, what is the important aspect of yoga, any yoga, importantly karma yoga? Practice. Begin the practice. Don't go on theorizing it. Practice. And before practicing, what is necessary? Hear. When you hear, you will learn something, then think about it. Then you will get a clarity with respect to execution of the projects. When you think, then you start practicing it. Here, Shravana Manana Nidhyasana, Swami has used his own words in the form of first hear, then think, and then practice. So with this idea, Swamiji concluded non-attachment is complete self-abnegation. Now, with this background, Swamiji takes up the idea of freedom. So when we see this word freedom, mukti, and definitely you can add two more questions here. Mukti of what? Or from what? Or mukti of or from? Freedom of what? Freedom from what? You can add these questions. Because Swamiji defines in this manner only. Mukti means, what do you mean understand by freedom? So before beginning this idea, we should have a little bit understanding of what do you mean by reality. So when we say reality, always please understand, we are speaking of absolute reality. Once you know what is absolute reality, then you will understand what do you mean by freedom. So, according to Vedanta, absolute reality is called by the name Brahman or Atman. It's Brahman or the Atman. Swamiji does not use the word Brahman or Atman here, but definitely he means this only. He calls this by existence. Swamiji uses the word here, existence. So, it is absolute reality is Brahman. When we say absolute reality is Brahman alone, eva, then I have explained this also in my earlier classes, not in Karma Yoga, in other classes also. When we say it is absolute reality is Brahman alone, then very question that follows is, then why are we seeing this world? Why are we perceiving all these human beings, so many problems, etc.? That's the question, main problem of Advaita Vedanta. Hence, before beginning this Brahma Sutra Atato Brahma Jignasa, Bhagavan Shankaracharya begins with Adhyasa Bhashya. There is a serious objection by other schools on Bhagavan Shankara. Why should you write an independent treatise as Adhyasa Bhashya? You should start from Atato Brahma Jignasa. Why have you taken the freedom of writing your own Vyakya called as Adhyasa Bhashya? Adhyasa, superimposition. Why? Then, there, the problem is, he tries to explain the problem. The standard example that is given by Vedanta is Rajju Sarpa Nyaya, Rajju Sarpa, mistaking rope as snake. But it is understandable and agreeable. It definitely, suppose if you come to our Shivanalli, you should have a torch. In the night, in the evening, after darkness, you should be careful while walking in our area. Many cobras are there, vipers are there. You should be very careful. Even if this is rope, please go near it, verify it, and then proceed. Maybe a rope, but don't excuse that saying that it may be a viper also. So there are all possibility of misunderstanding a rope for a snake, because there is a similarity between rope and snake. But the problem with this word, there is no similarity between Brahman and the word. Brahman is Santa, Jada. This word is Santa, Jada. Brahman, Chaitanya, Ananta, Swayamvedya, Swatantra. All those things you can add to Brahman. But nothing is there in this world. How can you mistake this word for Brahman or otherwise? Rope and snake agreeable. Oh, you have given the example, we have understood. But it's not possible for this word. That's why he says, itara abhyasam. Yushmat dashmat pratayoho. He begins that adhyasa bhashya to clarify this. How does ignorance comes, etc. It's of course a very logical way, and you should know a little bit of tarka, etc. At least a basics. To understand Bhagavan Shankara, we have lost that tradition of understanding things. It's not that we don't understand. A guru, a proper guru will make you to understand particular word in a particular idea, connected with particular idea. So let us not go into those details, only I am giving the introduction. That's why when we perceive this word, actually we are perceiving Brahman alone, nothing else. Apart from Brahman, apart from the absolute reality, we are perceiving this word means we are perceiving Brahman alone. Are Bapre, what is this, Swami? You are confusing. Why are we perceiving this word? All who have read a bit of Vedanta, they will understand there is no confusion, but I am speaking, taking average devotees into my mind and then giving the idea, that's all. Nothing to be confused, nothing going deeper into any of these things. It's all basic introduction. Then, why do you perceive? Because you are seeing this Brahman as Nama and Rupa. Or seeing, I can remove the word seeing, this Brahman appears through Nama Rupa. It is more convenient. I should use the word properly. But you should understand a bit of adjustments here. When I last time when spoke of Leela Prasanga also, don't bring too much of Advaita Vedanta into Leela Prasanga. Then somebody called Swamiji in the Mandukya Karika, it's Ajata Vadya, Ekatma Vada. Don't forget, all Ekatma Vada, Ajata Vadya, when you take Leela Prasanga. Leela Prasanga, we are going to talk of an avatara. When you are talking of avatara, ignorance is there in Hiranyagarbha, it is told in Vedanta, you can understand, but can you really understand what do you mean by ignorance in a, there also Vyashtiya Gnana, Samashtiya Gnana comes. When including Vedanta Sara, it is discussed. What do you mean by a Vyashtiya Gnana and Samashtiya Gnana? So, don't be confused too much with philosophy there. When we are reading Leela Prasanga, we are going to know Karana. In the Jagat Karana, though Agnana is there, it will not affect that Jagat Karana because it is like a snake having the poison within himself, which will not affect the snake, the poison of the snake. In that sense, Agnana remains even in Jagat Karana, but Agnana is a problem for all Jivatmas. That's the final conclusion that we are going. But then somebody, Ekatma Vada is there, and then this Ajata Vada in Mandukya Karika, how to, forget Mandukya Karika when you study Leela Prasanga. Now remember Brahman when I was going to freedom now. So he appears in the form Namarupa. Brahman appears as Namarupa. What is Nama and Rupa? Nama is nothing but Shabda. Word, sound, sorry. Nama is nothing but sound. Chandogya Pas, before Ayamatma, Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, Aitadatma Saram Saatma Tattvamasi Shvetaketu, it comes in 6th chapter, he explains there. So, when you hear Nama, what is Nama? It's nothing but sound. And Rupa always changes. Hence, whatever changes cannot be absolute reality. So, this Brahman appears as Namarupa. How does it appear as Namarupa? Because of the Manas, mind. What do you mean by the mind? That which is constrained in time, space, causation. Desha, Kala, Nimitta. So, concluding all these discussions, I can put it, Brahman projected through Desha, Kala, Nimitta is Jagat. I think I am very clear in this. You are following properly. Don't be confused. Very easy. Nothing to confuse because we have not realized. We are seeing only the word. No worry. Even don't understand that there is one absolute reality called Brahman and we are seeing it is separate. If you understand this much, it's enough. Because Swamiji is bringing a bit of other ideas, I have to speak from my standpoint. Yes, a lecture. You just hear. So, when Brahman is projected through the mind means Desha Kala Nimitta. It appears as this word. So, when you say Desha Kala Nimitta, connected with the mind, then wherever there is mind, there is Desha Kala Nimitta, means time, space, causation. When you have this time, space and causation, you are under law of causation. When we are under law of causation, whatever action, thought, work that you do is under the law of causation, which follows law of karma. So this coming out of this law of causation is called freedom. Swamiji explains all these things. I have to give this introduction. Otherwise, you will not grasp what Swamiji is going to say in first 3 pages. Because if I try to explain there without this introduction, you may miss some connecting ideas. So, Brahman appearing this word because we are perceiving this mind. What do you mean by mind? It is nothing but limited by time, space and causation. When we are under this time, of course, when we speak of mind, it is nothing but time, space and causation only. And hence, when we are with time, space and causation, we are under the law of causation. Means, we have to enjoy that kartatva, bhoktatva, all these things will come. Because we are under law of causation. So, coming out of this law of causation is called freedom. Then Swami here gives 3 ways to come out of this law of causation. Means coming out of law of causation means transcending the mind. Because in absolute reality there is no mind. When you say mind, you see this word. When there is no mind, there is nothing but absolute reality, which is Brahman or pure consciousness, which is also absolute existence, absolute knowledge, absolute bliss. So, to attain that, you have to transcend the mind itself. Keeping the mind, having absolute reality is not at all possible. Attain absolute reality is attaining freedom. For that, you have to transcend the mind itself. How to transcend the mind? So, freedom means transcending the mind. How to transcend the mind with Karma Yoga is the subject of this chapter. So, this Swamiji gives 3 ways. One as a Gnani, one as a believer of God, one as a non-believer of God. Suppose somebody does not believe in God at all. He prescribes one way. One who believes in a Gnana Marga, he has got one way. And one who believes in God, for him there is one path. So Swamiji, transcending this mind, gives 3 ways. For a Gnani, we can say as a Bhakta, and for a non-believer of God. So that is the meaning of freedom. Freedom means transcending the mind. No mind. Attaining that state is called freedom. Now I will read few lines and then try to explain here. This is the philosophy of Karma Yoga. Swamiji in the first 3 pages he will explain the philosophy of Karma Yoga. So, apart from work, regarding the word karma, what is the meaning of karma? We have seen it is work. And what is the one more psychological meaning of the word karma? Swamiji says, it implies causation. What do you mean by causation? Whatever karma that you do, the phala you have to enjoy, which no power on the earth can stop it. That is the meaning of law of causation. So, there are 2 things. Suppose today I am speaking here in this auditorium. This is the effect of some cause done before. And this becomes a cause to some effect in tomorrow, for tomorrow. So, every action is an effect of previous action and also forms a cause of future effect. Every action is both cause and effect. This present lecture is an effect of previous action. And this action becomes a cause for future phala. So every action has both cause and effect, and this is the meaning of law of causation. So that's why I told you, you need little bit into, Swami goes into what you mean by law, what you mean by other things now. Of course, these things you won't get in Bhagavad Gita of Karma Yoga. You may read Bhagavad Gita. So, hey, Krishna didn't have time, or maybe Arjuna was a highly intellectual person. He could understand. No, Swamiji knew we are all be here after so many years who don't understand much of Vedanta. So I need to explain all bit by bit. So I try to explain. Krishna had Arjuna, and Swamiji had to think of us who will be sitting here to understand all these things. Now that's why law of causation connected with a word called law. What do you mean by law of causation? Karma phala. If you say karma phala, it means it follows a particular sequence. Swamiji says, calls by the word law. What do you mean by law? Swamiji defines it. By law is meant the tendency of series to repeat itself. Tendency of a series to repeat itself is called law. Suppose you see a tree. What is the cause of the tree? A seed. A plant or a tree, cause is the seed. This plant or a tree will have so many seeds. So tree is a cause for seed, and a seed is a cause for a tree. It's connected. This tree and a plant and a seed. So you see this series following always. So this series to repeat itself is called the law. Now how does this law exist in this word? Now he is coming to law. From law he comes to next point, Nyaya school. Call this law by the name Vyapti. This word Vyapti is a pakka technical word. It's a technical word used in Nyaya. When they discuss pramana with respect to Anumana pramana, inference, they use this word Vyapti. What do you mean by Vyapti? Have some patience, and here it is very simple. Idea is very simple, but you should have some patience to hear, that's all. What do you mean by Vyapti? Swamiji is saying a law. When we say law, it is nothing but connected with a repeat itself in a sequence. What you understand by this sequence and to repeat itself, it is called by the word Vyapti in Nyaya. What do you mean Vyapya, Vyapaka? They use all those words. So I will explain the word Vyapti. Suppose you are standing near a mountain, a small hillock. On the top of the hill, this is the example given in Tarkasangraha, a basic text regarding Nyaya. Most common example they give, but they go on extending this to higher extent. It's a very, they take it to very high extent of intellectual gymnastics. If we know and what is Vyapti, that is sufficient for us. Not necessary to enter into any of the intellectual gymnastics. Not necessary at all. You are standing at the foothill, seeing a dhuma on the hill. You see a dhuma. Dhuma means smoke. Then somebody is standing near you and you say, there is a fire on the hill. But mind you, you did not see the fire. What you saw is the smoke, dhuma. But what did you infer? I inferred fire seeing the dhuma. This is Vyapti. Means, famous Sanskrit quotation is, Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vannihi. Listen carefully. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanhi. But it is not otherwise. Yatra yatra vanhi tatra tatra dhumaha. No. This is vyapti. You have to understand vyapti here. Pervasiveness, pervasion. Vyapti in English can be called as pervasion. What do you mean by pervasion? Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanni. Wherever you see a smoke, invariably it is connected with fire. Wherever you see a smoke, invariably smoke is always connected with fire. Definitely you can, when you see a smoke, infer you have a fire. But wherever you see a fire, not necessary that smoke coexist. What is the example, Swami? Your heater. You have so many thermo heaters to boil milk, etc. No, you don't. Earlier there was a coil system, heating coil, electric coil. We used to burn there. And now you have got a nice covered thermostat, covered with steel, etc. You heat it. There is a fire, but there is no dhuma. That's why in English they call it invariable concomitance. It is difficult to understand English. Better go by the word by Sanskrit. In English, vyapti is called invariable concomitance. When I first read Tarka Sangra, I thought, why I am reading all these things instead of realizing God? In training center, I thought. Then I went into the details and I left out completely the English part and took the Sanskrit part. That is more understandable. So, there is a vyapti between fire and smoke. What do you mean by vyapti here? Vyapti means pervasion of smoke over fire. It is called vyapti. Pervasion of smoke over fire means, I will give a simple example. I give you two notes, one of rupees 10 and another of rupees 100. You have 100 rupees note with you, I give you, and one more of rupees 10. Then can you explain the taking of example? Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanni. So I am giving 110. So which is dhuma and which is vanni here? Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanni. We have two things. One is dhuma, one is fire, and one is smoke. In the same way, I have given two notes. One is rupees 10 and rupees 100. So rupees 10 becomes dhuma, rupees 100 becomes vanni. Because 10 exists in all the denominations between 10 and 100. 100 exists only in the denomination of 100, not in 10. So this dhuma is more pervasive than the fire. That's why we use yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vanhi. Means there is an invariable connection with smoke and fire. Wherever you see a smoke, there is always fire. So, dhuma is more pervasive. It occupies more space than the fire. Because there is a connection. So now with this idea, this is sufficient. It goes to mind-cracking intellectual gymnastics. You read now, if I start taking class on Tarka, I also did not go too much. I studied Tarka Sangra. And then beyond a certain point, I found it's not, because so much of, we lack time. Is it not? Time is too short. And going on connection with, from my personal perspective, going on reading all this vyapti, avyapti, then here they extend anvaya vyapti, vyatireka vyapti, what is vyatireka vyapti, anvaya vyapti. And this is, you need a Tarka Sangra to read Vedanta Paribhasha also. Because if you want to read Advaita Vedanta, you should know what is Pramana according to Advaita Vedanta. That is taught in Vedanta Paribhasha. To study Vedanta Paribhasha, you need the introduction of Tarka Sangra. That's why I told you, Swamiji has made it so easy. If you study, you will get connected. If somebody has studied, they will get connections. Anyhow, the question here is, all our thinking is dependent on association of ideas. this dhuma and one is always associated. In the same way, whatever you see in this world is dependent on your association in the mind. So your word is a relative word. Your word is not my word. My word is not somebody's word. That's why this Brahman, through the idea of law of association, is this word. There's a Vyapti Jnana here. Invariable concomitance means there's association of idea, connecting idea. When you see something, let us say if you see Ramakrishna Math, connected with, there are so many association of it, you will have hundreds of thoughts when you see a Paramahamsa Thakur photo or Ramakrishna mission or any emblem. Always this mind is connected with association of ideas. When you are associated with ideas, this mind has association with so many ideas. In the same way, you perceive, connected with, you see so many laws. These are all in, everything is in the mind. That's why now taking this law of causation, connected with, what do you mean by law? It is association of ideas. When you have association of ideas, the next step is, the law is not in the nature. I will read these 3-4 sentences and try to explain. You please read it once again after going to your respective houses. First 2 pages. You have heard it. To understand it, you have to read it once again. Otherwise, ऊपर चला जाएगा. कोई अंदर नहीं घुसेगा, ऊपर से चला जाएगा सब. So now, therefore, law does not exist in nature. This, whatever law you say, does not exist in nature. Practically, it is an error to say that gravitation exists in the earth or that there is any law existing objectively anywhere in nature. Law is the method, the manner in which our mind grasps a series of phenomena. What do you mean by law? It is the mind which grasps a series of phenomena. Law is not in the nature. Of course, when you say nature, you have to understand it in 2 perspectives. One is, objectively there is nothing called a gravitation. We have given, because all the things in this world are staying on the bhumi of this earth. So we call there is a force which is pulling everything towards a center, which we call as gravitational force. But objectively speaking, there is no law as a gravitation. When you say law, you can understand this first. There is no objective law. Second thing, that if you replace the nature with Brahman, what does it happen? Therefore, law does not exist in Brahman. You should understand you should understand the words very carefully. Law does not exist in nature. First point is, objectively there is no law in nature. Second point, if you replace the word nature as Brahman, no law exists in Brahman. We get absolute reality. And there is no law objectively existing anywhere in nature. Anywhere in nature you can even add Brahman. No law exists objectively there is no objectivity at all, because there is no mind. So, regularity of their recurrence, thus enabling our minds to grasp the method of the whole series, constitute what we call law. You see some series of happenings. You define that series as law. So when you say law, what do you mean? A phenomena grasped by my mind for the series of occurrence that this mind grasps. That's all. Objectively, there is nothing called law in nature. First point. Second, Swami says, when we say gravitation law is universal, what do you mean by universal? First thing is that when you say it is universal, it is related to this universe. What do you mean by universe? The universe means that part of existence characterized by desha, kala, nimitta. I am going very slow. It is difficult for me to go to this much slow. But somebody requested, Swamiji, be slow. I am trying to be slow. So, existence means, Swamiji uses the word existence. I told you, it is when Swamiji uses the word existence, this is nothing but absolute existence or the Brahman. That's why you should be aware of, very conscious when you read, especially complete words. You should always be careful about the usage of words. Even Shankara, Bhashya also, you do that, but here we should be very careful. Means here existence means Brahman. It is absolute, it means it is infinite. So from that infinite part, there is no part, these are all for my explanation, that's all. In that absolute existence, infinite existence, that part you call the world. What do you mean by that? Universe, you called universe, universal. What do you mean by universe? That which is limited or characterized by desha, kala, nimitta, or my mind. And it's easy to use the word mind because we are experiencing the mind. Instead of telling desha, kala, nimitta, what is this time, space and causation? If you read Vedanta Jnana Yoga, then you will understand better. To understand this, Swamiji explains this, the real and apparent man there, and all those 1 or 2 chapters, Swamiji clearly explains. He explains how this Brahman sees this world. There he uses this time, space, causation as a mirror. When Brahman passes through the mirror of time, space, causation, you see this word. Swamiji explains in Jnana Yoga. So, what do you mean by universal or universe? It is nothing but that part of existence characterized by the mind. Whatever mind perceives is called universal or universe. So there are 2 things in universe. One is law, one is universal. This law is based on vyapti, invariable. There is a series of occurrence. That series is dependent on this vyapti. Means there is invariable connections between 2 things. Seed and tree, egg and hen. There is a connection between them. So mind perceives that. That perceives the sequence and say it is a law. And this law is universal. Universal is wherever there is mind, this law applies. What do you mean by universal and universe? Wherever you see all these things, it is universal. Please don't walk. Either you go out or don't disturb the lecture. So, this vyapti has been explained. Law of connection ideas. First thing is, I conclude, it's 6:40, only 3-4 minutes left. We began the chapter with freedom. What do you mean by freedom? Freedom from the mind itself. There is a place called no mind or beyond the mind, transcending the mind. What do you mean by this mind? Mind is limited by space, time and causation. Means there is law of causation. This law of causation dependent on what? There is something called law. What do you mean by law? A series of occurrences we call law. And this law is universal. It is universal. Wherever there is mind, there this law applies. So now, taking karma yoga, we have to transcend this law. The law of causation, the law of time, space and causation, the law of recurring, the law of this series, the law of association, everything we have to break it. So, before breaking, Swamiji gives some more details of this law, time, space, causation, meaning of freedom. He will explain further in 1 or 2 pages further. And then he comes to the idea of practicing it, taking 3 perspectives. As I told you earlier, one is taking the Gnana Marga neti. Second is believing in God. And third one, for a non-believer of God, who does not believe in God at all. So, how to transcend the mind? If some of you may ask, or may not ask me, but may have a question inside you. So is it all necessary to understand so much? You are trying to explain Vyapti and all this Brahman projected to time space organization. I say yes. Why? There will be a clarity in your understanding. If somebody comes and asks, Swamiji, Karma Yoga, I read Freedom, then what will be? I have understood for myself. It is difficult for me to explain somebody. I have understood. If you say, then you are not really understood. Until unless you have that conviction, yes, Swamiji has defined, because you will at least get a very clear clarity regarding the way you are practicing sadhana. You can see, are you giving any value to the recurrence of all these series? What do you mean by a samsara? Everything happens. Same, don't mistake me. Somebody comes to a particular age, hey, you should marry, you should. Same sequence. It recurs. We have fallen, we allow somebody to fall also. You also. Don't mistake me, it's my perception. Everywhere in the way we work, the way we handle things at home, the way we work at home, maybe IT company, GPT-20, the philosophy is same, limited by this mind, whatever is perceived. Think apart from all these things. How to think apart from all these things? There is a place called no mind, beyond of law of causation. So that is called Vyapti. What do you mean? Cut the connection in the series. There is connection. There is no connection here. Sri Ramakrishna says, for God, it is not necessary for two to follow after one. When we are taught numericals, we say 1, 2, 3, 4. It's in numericals. But for God, after 1, it may be 10 also. Sri Ramakrishna says in Gospel, after 1, it's not necessary for God to have 2. 2 into 2 is 4. That start in first standard Maggi, but not in God's place. We are going to beyond the mind. So, there is nothing to be taken very seriously regarding this word. It is very difficult, I can understand. But what I am speaking is intellectual clarity. I am speaking of first intellectual clarity. There is a series and sequence perceived by the mind. If you can understand the series and be beyond that, many situations, you can, somebody wants a counseling for stress management. You can add all these things in your own customized way and counseling them. Don't come to me. I don't have time, but somebody else. Counsel them, stress management. See this word as a sequence. You are a witness for all this sequence, etc., etc. Understanding Karma Yoga. Is it not? Because everything is a perception of time space. Time space and causation, you are beyond that, like that. So, you should understand the words. Because Swamiji is a Gnani, he is understanding at a different level. At least on a sentence level, if you don't understand, then I think it's better not to read complete verse. It's time now. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.